Um, we'll give it a couple of minutes just to let people kind of slowly trickle in, since I know that, you know, people are bound to be running late, as I usually am, so no stress there. Um, but thank you all for coming today. So I'm Sarah Edwards. I work with the New Black Film Collective, and I will be hosting this evening. We are so excited to be in conversation with Georgina Bobb, who is lovely and so amazing. We're so excited to have her here joining us today. And I am also joined by Jasmine Bernard Brooks, who is my colleague at the New Black Film Collective and also our producer this evening. So she will be managing all things chat related and hopefully engaging a lot with you guys. So I'm going to start with a quick presentation. We'll do like a little bit of an overview of how the evening is going to go and what you can expect from this webinar, just to kind of lay the rules for the evening. But I do want this to be a place where you guys are really getting the most out of this that you possibly can. So if you wouldn't mind, and if you feel comfortable, please just put in the chat either what you do or kind of what area of film and TV you're hoping to transition to or you're most curious about, so we can kind of gear the conversation towards that. And of course, if you have any questions, we'll have plenty of time for that at the end. So do feel free to drop them in the chat just so we know what kind of things people are curious about and kind of guide our conversation in that direction. All right. So yeah, I guess with all of that said, I will go ahead and start with the presentation and we'll kind of roll from there. So as I said, I am hoping this will be a pretty fairly open conversation, but here are some of the things we're looking to cover this evening, just general topics. So broadly, we're looking to cover advice for new entrants in the workforce, so folks that are young and just looking to get their foot in the door. So how do you do that kind of stuff? And also for people who are maybe mid-level, maybe working in film and TV already, but looking to transition to a different type of work or coming from a completely different industry. And then also because this is an industry that is so focused on networking and really knowing the right people, how do you do that in a way that works for you? But before I get to all that, this is a BYP Creators event, so let me tell you a little bit about BYP. So BYP was founded by the incredible and multi-talented Kike. She is an athlete, a businesswoman, all-around brilliant woman, and has a resume that is probably too long and storied for me to recount here, but you're welcome to read through this later. But she founded BYP to address the needs of Black professionals all over the world for role model visibility, career opportunities, business support, and so ultimately we as a community can solve our own problems with a vision to change the Black narrative and advance the careers of millions of Black professionals through Javelin. So if you're at the webinar today, you've most likely already interfaced with Javelin in some way, but once you create a profile in Javelin, you can join location and industry-based groups to gain knowledge, network, and access upskilling content. You can sign up to Javelin by visiting javelin.byp.network/dashboard, which we will be sure to put into the chat later. And also at the end of the webinar, we will have a QR code which you can scan to access the sign up page as well. And then with that, here's a little bit about the running order for this evening. So after this, I will introduce you to our lovely guest speaker. Then we'll move on to the Q&A. And then at the end, we'll have time for audience questions. You can throw them in the chat. And Georgina will get to as many as she can during that time. Again, we want to make this as helpful for you guys as possible. So please do ask your questions. We want to make sure that we are there for you. And then after that, we'll do a short little wrap up and I will let you enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world that you're tuning in for this webinar. Okay, so here's a little bit about Georgina. With 15 years of professional production experience within the television industry, Georgina Bobb is a force for change and providing opportunities. Award-winning for her services to the creative industry, she is a television production manager, career coach, and educator transforming the lives of those who are seeking opportunities in the industry. She is a BAFTA and Women in Film and TV member and a Wonder Woman TV mentee and a breakthrough leader with the TV Collective as one of the top 50 leaders in the television industry. She has delivered programs for a variety of broadcasters, including BBC, Channel 4 and Channel 5, and has helped thousands of people enter the industry. She regularly speaks on podcasts, at events, and delivers training programs around employability, production management, on-screen presenting, and diversity and inclusion. She also runs a jobs board and membership through the TV and Film Jobs Network and partners with organizations with the same ethos. She has recently set up Bold Brave Productions Limited to executive produce and co-produce on a wide slate of factual programming. Okay, lots of words, but all that to say, welcome, Georgina. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. That was such an introduction, I have to say. Like, that was the sweetest thing. And like, I just want to thank everyone on this call for coming and attending this like event. It's hot outside, but we're all here on Zoom listening and speaking about the industry and pushing our careers forward. So I just want to thank everyone who's in this room, because it's highly important that we stay focused on the job at hand, which is our careers. So yeah, everything that was on that slide before was pretty much true, but it's really like, it's humbling to hear it from somebody else. Like, yeah. So I'm just really thankful to meet all of you and that you're all here. And hopefully this session will give you an idea of how I can help you, my background, and any sort of advice that I can move forward with you guys in regards to your careers and moving you forward with that, really.
Thank you so much, Georgina. And speaking of your background, I think that that would be a great place for us to start. So could you tell us a little bit about your experience and how you got started in the industry?
Okay, so I first started in the industry 15 years ago. I started at college. I did a BTech at media. While I was there, I worked for an indie, a very tiny indie called F2R Films, where I produced music videos whilst at college. The budgets were like £500 to £1,000, and I was running up and down London doing sort of like grime-based music videos. So that was quite interesting, but I learned a lot, you know. It was like just from the grassroots, learning like logistics, coordination, production management on music promos essentially. So I managed to work with the likes of like Ed Sheeran and other rappers and artists which are now globally famous. So that was good. I then went into university. I went to Ravensbourne and I did a degree in content creation and broadcast. There was amazing. I learned so much. I learned a lot there. It was quite a culture shock. I'm a working class, black and proud South East Londoner. So coming from that kind of culture and going into university was quite a big culture shock, but I enjoyed it because I knew it was something that I always wanted to do. So I grabbed the opportunity with both hands. Whilst I was at university, I produced a few short films. I carried on with music video production. And then I went to an internship. I got an internship after I graduated. It wasn't straight after I graduated, but it was, I would say maybe 3 or 4 months after I graduated, I got an internship. Before that, I was working at Sainsbury's, supervising all the sort of menial jobs that you would do. I was doing them. Do you know what I mean? So for anyone who's on this call that might be sort of transitioning, they might have just graduated, believe me, it will happen. You just need to keep focused and motivated and actionable towards your goals. Anyway, so to university, after university, I got my first internship. My internship was at Virgin Media. I worked on a marketing platform. It was the first entrepreneurship platform similar to Facebook that Virgin Media provided. I was a marketing intern there, and I basically assisted them with their platform and tried to organize events and stuff like that with entrepreneurs across the UK and the world. That was really interesting, but it wasn't necessarily television. Television is my passion. It's what I live for. I love it. It's everything I think, breathe, eat, sleep. Do you know what I mean? So from there, it was a 3 months internship. And then I got my first TV job with a company called Applause Store. Applause Store do all the studio audiences for the entertainment shows across the UK and throughout the world as well. And I was hired as a audience researcher on the X Factor USA. So there I was working unsociable hours on minimum wage. hitting the phones and doing research, just getting people on the seats at studios across America for the first series of the X Factor in the USA, and that was like 15 years ago. I absolutely loved it. And then yeah, I just built my career really. Like freelance, started running. I ran a few entertainment shows. Then I was a logger. A logger is someone that would essentially like type word for word on set or after everything's been shot. I would type word for word exactly like what has been said in the footage and stuff. So I did that for a while. And then I moved on to production assistant. I was production secretary on a few live shows and a few documentaries. And then I was a production coordinator. So I coordinated for 7 years on back-to-back contracts for a variety of independent production companies and broadcasters. I really enjoyed doing that. I'm great at production management. So it was like my ultimate goal to be a production manager. So after 7 years of coordinating, I then became a production manager, where my first job, I production managed 3 shows at once. So I was the in-house production manager and I had 3 shows under my belt that I was production managing. And it's the first time I ever did it. I loved it. The shows were Rich Kids Go Skin for Channel 5. It was a 10-parter, and the budget was like 700K. So it was quite small, but I still smashed it. And then there was a one-off documentary for Channel 4, a Dispatches doc. And then I also did a 4-part series for all 4. So that was really interesting. It was a studio show with high-profile comedians and kids. So that was really fun. So I was across all 3 of those productions doing production management, and I really enjoyed it. Since then, I now operate as a career coach. So I work full time on my business. And what that means is I help people find work within the industry. I look at your CV. I can write your CV or just give you advice on how to actually write a CV effectively so that you can actually grab the attention of employers. So that's something that I do. And I also do training as well. So that's what I do on a full-time basis now, and I'm bloody enjoying it. And part of me wants to go back into the industry. If that happens, it might do. But until then, now I'm going to be helping you guys. And that's my big passion.
That's amazing. Yeah, sounds like you've had like such an exciting and very like wide-ranging career so far as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, dear. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I know Thomas who's here already, and there's a few names in the chat that I recognize. And I have to say, as the majority of us are from Black or working class backgrounds, what have you, like the industry isn't as diverse as it needs to be, as we all know, as we all are clear and we all know. Now, I'm very much a big fan and advocate about authenticity, okay? Because authenticity is the key to happiness. And in the industry, it's very difficult to be authentic when you're working in such a white middle class environment when that not might not necessarily be your reflection or who you are. And that's another big passion of mine. I'm very, very strong and I'm very opinionated on fairness and equality within the industry. And through my work as a career coach and through my work as a trainer, like I try and instill that in all of my clients, because I think essentially, you know, the industry, we hold power. Like when people watch a program or watch a film, you're watching it and that will affect you in like a positive way, in an informative way, entertaining, whatever it is, it will have power on that person who's watching it. Now, we all have the responsibility as filmmakers, as TV people, to create amazing programs, amazing content. And I just think that like with power can change if there's more diversity behind the industry. Does that make sense? So that's where I'm coming from. Hopefully that's made sense. Talking in a bit of cryptic clues, but I hope that's made sense for everyone.
It certainly makes sense to me, and I think it's a really important point, and I think that's kind of brings me to one of my first questions, which is Um, coming into this industry for you, like it can often feel like it's a very like insiders focused game where there's a bunch of things that you have to learn right off the bat,
Yeah.
and lots of things you don't know in order to get into the industry and really make a great first impression. So, especially somebody who's coming from like a working class background or is a person of color and maybe doesn't have access to all of those tools and that kind of insider knowledge, what were kind of the key things that you learned or you've found in your career so far that were really important in getting in the room and kind of meeting the right people?
You need to network. Like if you're just starting out in the industry and you're like, oh, I'm looking for a job, blah, 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 you need to go to networking events. You can find these on Eventbrite. You search TV networking, film networking, creative networking, TV and film, job fairs, careers fairs in TV, etc. A lot of them are on Eventbrite. The RTS, World Television Society, they have a futures fair, and I think they put it on twice a year, one in Midlands and one in London. I exhibit there. Beck2 sometimes have freelance fairs and they have networking events. And also there's a platform called the Talent Manager, which is good for networking events within the television industry too. And on Instagram, if you just kind of search specific hashtags and see what people are posting, and there are a lot of different events on there as well, and different like initiatives that you can be a part of. So I would just say be connected, be tapped in to what is going on in the industry, and like you need to know people to get in. I would say first and foremost, I would say that's really key. And as well as that, you need to be able to apply for jobs, the ones that are advertised effectively. And by that, if you've got transferable skills such as working in an admin or in a shop or whatever, you can do that, have that on your CV. But essentially, it's about you um rewriting your CV so it sounds more TV and media heavy. So instead of your mission statement saying I'm hardworking, I'm enthusiastic, no, like it has to be something like I'm a media graduate, graduated from Ravensbourne, with transferable skills, seeking my first entry level role within the industry. I am passionate about this, or I know how to, through my studies, I learned this, that, and that. Do you know what I mean? You have to kind of like base it all around your media and your TV stuff. And then on your experience, just make sure that you're like writing, um, on your experience, just make sure that you're writing like your main university experience first and then the rest afterwards. But yeah, I would just say in terms of like CVs generally, like there are ways to do it, but that's just my general advice generally.
As far as, so I think transferable skills is something that comes up a lot, either for people who are new to the industry and maybe have
Yeah.
like, like experience that is not at all related, or people who are looking to pivot. Um, why would you like give advice to somebody who is looking to figure out like what exactly those skills are? Like what is the process of identifying what kind of things they should highlight?
Okay, so I would say you need to really sit down with yourself, have a pen and paper, notebook, whatever you like to write on a device, and think what skills did you learn at university or college, or what experiences do you have in media, even if it's working on your friend's film or shooting your own content on your phone, it's all relevant. Every bit of experience you've had, whether it's shooting something on your phone to anything, it's all relevant. It's about upselling your skills. It's about upselling the fact that you want to work in industry. So therefore, every bit of media experience that you've had, just make sure that you've highlighted it and you've showed it off on your CV. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like I'm like, because there's like I've had clients and they've spoken to me and they're like, oh, I don't have enough experience. And I'm like, what have you done? And then they tell me, and I'm like, why isn't that on your CV? Like, put it on your CV. Do you get what I mean? Like, even if you feel like, oh, but I'm lying, it's not about lying, it's about you doing what you can to get the job. And I think if more people have that mindset, obviously don't be like narcissistic about it, but just be like focused on what you need to do to get the job and get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess along those same lines, in addition to being able to highlight those transferable skills, I was curious also like how you felt about like different methods of gaining more experience in the industry. So I know you went to Ravensbourne, you studied media. So as far as things like going to university or pursuing courses versus like trying to get like on-set production experience, like how do you see like the value of those different things?
I think education is fundamental for anyone to just be intelligent, to be honest. But I would say in this day and age, there are different ways to enter the industry, even if you create your own content. Everything's going online now anyway. You've got Netflix, which are smashing it with figures, with subscriptions. You know, more people are watching Netflix and like Amazon Prime and like other platforms than ever before. So I would say that if you want to get an education and you can get an education, get an education. But you like I don't regret getting an education, let's put it that way. But if you do have the opportunity to get work, get work. That's what I would say.
And do you have any particular advice for somebody who is like thinks they want to get into film and TV but doesn't exactly know where to start? Like they think that everybody thinks they want to be a writer or a director when they first get into it, but there are lots of other opportunities or ways to get into the industry that I think are
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah, it's just
so.
about exploring, like it's exploring what it is that you enjoy, what is it that you like. And if you're like, but I don't know how am I going to get the experience in the first place, you've got a phone. A phone has a camera. Like get your friends around or create your own casting calls, post them on Facebook groups and be like, oh, I'm doing this film, blah, 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 blah. Like you have to be proactive and you have to be able to like create opportunities for yourself. The more action orientated you are, then the more like things will come back to you. And I always say this about job applications as well. If you're applying for jobs, the more no's you get, you're more closer to a yes. So keep applying and don't feel like, oh my gosh, I never got that job. I really wanted it. Obviously, it's natural to feel like that, but it wasn't for you. So move on and keep it moving, you know? Like it's really important. I've been really like, disheartened in the past, like applying for jobs and not getting them and stuff. But it doesn't do you any favors. You've just got to be focused and just literally just have that energy behind you to just reach the goals that you need to achieve. And I think with goal setting as well, like in the industry, when I first started, I didn't have a goal as in I wanted to be a production manager. It was kind of like I always just wanted to be in the industry. Like from when I was 14, that I remember I was on set for SMTV Live at Ant and Dec show like years ago, Saturday morning show years ago. I was on set with my drama school, my dancing school. I was like a cheerleader or whatever. When I experienced being on set that day, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to work in TV. This is what I want to do. This is amazing. This is wonderful. And I just always wanted to do it. And once you've got that in your mind, it's just about you pursuing it, and it will happen, you know? But you're in control. Like you have to be in control of that.
Mhm. Like you have to take the initiative and really like
A
drive
hundred
that
percent.
forward.
100%.
Yeah,
So
I guess I'll sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go on.
Well, just along those lines, I'm also curious for folks once they've kind of gotten that first job or gotten that entry level position and
Yeah.
they're kind of starting to get into the industry, but they don't really know what they're doing. What do you see as the most important things for really pushing that forward and making the most of those opportunities once you're kind of getting in
Okay.
there?
So in TV specifically, the working hours are very unsociable. So be prepared to put in longer hours. You're not going to be hired again if you leave the office at 6 o'clock every single day. Unless the manager is fine with it, like whoever you're reporting to, if they're fine with it, that's fine. But generally speaking, the jobs that I've been on in the past, it's literally been like 8 o'clock finish, 9 o'clock finish, sometimes 10, sometimes 11, but day in, day out. Does that make sense? You need to put in the work to basically prove yourself. I don't agree with it personally. That's one of the reasons why I've decided to help others. But I do feel that, if you really want to make a mark in the industry, you need to put in the work. And that's something I will definitely say 100%, put in the work. Number two is you need to get on with everyone. even if you don't see anything in common, you need to get on with absolutely everyone. You need to fit in. Fitting in is fundamental because as soon as you don't fit in, you're outcasted and you're out of a job. And I'm very outspoken, I'm very frank, but you have to fit in, okay? I would say what else? I'll say and work. I've said work hard. Yeah, working hours, that's fine, but work hard. So if you're on set, if someone says, "Oh, can you do this?" You're the first person. If there's 10 runners, you are the runner that's doing everything because they will remember you and they will know that you're great. Does that make sense? But at the same time, it's about analyzing who's on the team and working your way through that, making friends with the right people, but at the same time doing the job that you need to do to showcase the fact that you're good at what you do. Does that make sense? And therefore you would be hired again. That's my opinion.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm hearing from you on that is really going above and beyond to do the job, being committed to the fact that they are going to be really tough hours, but doing the most that you can to show people that you are great and you are a good person to work with so that they are inviting you back for that next job or that next
100%.
opportunity.
100%. Definitely.
And then along those lines, as far as once you've established those kind of connections with people, I think a lot of people, especially people who are new to the industry or come from a background where they're not used to really putting themselves forward, like what kind of advice do you have for someone who maybe struggles with knowing what to do when it comes to um, maintaining connections with the people that they are networking with or the people that they're meeting on set? Like, how do you walk that line between like keeping yourself relevant for someone without being like annoying, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I would say once a week is what should be standard. Like keep in people's minds once a week. That's what I think personally. That's just my opinion. Like obviously if you've applied for a job, that's different because they'll get in contact with you and stuff like that. And make sure that if you're invited to an interview, as soon as the interview's finished, you email them up straight away and you say it was so fantastic meeting you. You know, it would be great if like to hear news X, Y, and Z. So make sure you do that. But I would say in terms of your network, people that you know, social media, everyone's on social media. Post post your latest projects, you being on set, what you've been up to. Do you know what I mean? I know everyone's got their going out one, their selfies one, whatever, but have a professional profile and have all your connections on there and connect with them there. Like whether it's on Instagram, LinkedIn is great. But I would say in terms of like, so what's the question again? Sorry.
Well, just about like how do you follow up with somebody in a way that's like authentic and isn't going to be
Yeah.
annoying or irritating?
So just be polite. It's just be polite and friendly. Be polite, friendly, and professional because the industry is a professional industry. But you just need to be polite and friendly, you know? That's what I would say personally.
Yeah. And I think that there are a lot of people who struggle with the fact that it is kind of a professional relationship rather than a personal one. So, as far as being friendly, but not like necessarily treating someone like they're your bestie or whatever. So, how do you go about kind of keeping people up to date with what you're doing in a way that I guess like isn't wasting their time, but still kind of gets across the point that like you are looking for work, um, that you are interested in certain types of opportunities. Um,
Yeah, just literally, it depends on how you know the person, because it depends on like how you've like worked with them before.
mhm.
If you're friends with them, you can just be like, "Hi, my love, I'm coming free again. Like, is there anything in the pipeline your side?" Or if you're like contacting someone through someone else, you can write something that's a bit more formal. It just depends on as to what relationship you have with what person in the industry. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk a bit about specifically about people who are maybe pivoting to film and TV from a different career. So maybe they have a couple of years of experience already, but it's in a different field.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if somebody was coming to you and they're saying like, "Hey, like I am really looking to get in this industry," what kind of advice would you give to someone to prepare for that? Like, how might they make that a smooth transition?
Okay, so for pivoting, if you've got say 10 years, 5 years, 7 years, 15 years, however long years in another industry, you need to understand the industry first and foremost. Screen Skills is a fantastic organization that delivers free training for people to understand specific fields within the industry. Okay. So you can do all of their training and it's all free, and you will genuinely learn about the different elements of the industry and find out what it is that you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, etc., and what you're passionate about and what your skills are more suited towards, you know? Um, I'm trying to think. I would say also if you're pivoting, it's just important to kind of like don't leave your job until you've got another job. And I say that because of the way that the industry is at the moment. Everyone is saying survive till 25. Me personally, I don't know what is going to happen, but I would say don't leave your job until you've got that other job secured, and don't expect a permanent job. You're not going to get a permanent job straight away. It's a freelance industry. The industry is freelance. You will get freelance contracts. There might be 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, but there are permanent jobs, but they're very hard to come by, you know? So just don't, you could go out and be like, I'm getting a permanent job, and you could get one. You could be a lucky one to get one, but it's predominantly freelance, specifically within TV and film.
I want to dig into what you said a little bit more about like survive till 25.
Mhm.
Could you tell us a little bit about kind of how you're seeing the industry overall right now, and how it's been different from maybe like other years that you've been in working in film and TV?
So I haven't worked in the industry since October 2023. Even before then, things were quieter on the job front. So I would say that television isn't doing greatly in terms of channels paying production companies to create new content. There are some big production companies that obviously are creating content, um, but it's not as good as what it was. So it's like basically half of us are out of work at the moment, and that's like 50% basically are out of work. So it's not the best time to transition, but I would say that you can still go for it if that's something that you do want to do. Um, it's about knowing the right people. That's what it's about. It's about knowing the right people. I would say in terms of how the TV industry works regarding how people are hired, is channels pay the production companies then hiring the staff. So they're hiring the production manager will hire in the crew, and then that's how a production is made, you know, and that's based on the budget provided by the channel for the commission of the program. And that's how a lot of like small to medium indies work. But when you're like a large indie or you're like a broadcaster, obviously there's different methods to like income and stuff. Um, so yeah.
And then as far as I think you've covered quite a few things that are really great so far for career pivoters, as far as being prepared for the fact that it's going to be like mostly freelance, that it's a pretty tough industry right now, and that you should really be prepared to stay in your current job until you find a new job.
Yeah.
But as far as actually taking that leap, what other things do you think that people can expect as far as like, is there going to be some element of adjusting to a role that's maybe like less senior than you're used to, or other
Yeah.
things that you
So
should prepare for?
if you're senior in your industry, I wouldn't expect a senior role unless you know that person who's hiring you, or that role, if you get asked for an interview for that senior role in TV or film, um, you can 100% display that you can do it. And there isn't anyone else that they're interviewing with the same experience as you, or more experience in the industry as you. That's the only way you would get that job. But, and I'm not being like bitchy, I'm not being like that. I'm just saying from my experience. But I would say, like, if you want to transfer into the industry, you can go at a lower level. You can start as a runner or production assistant or researcher or assistant producer, shooter, whatever you want to do. You can get in, but it's like be prepared to graft. You have to graft. The industry is a graft. Like you have to work hard to get in. If you're not working hard, at it, then no one's going to call your phone and just offer you a job. Let's put it that way. You have to use your brain to make the opportunities that you need for yourself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you've touched a bit before on kind of in-person networking opportunities. How do you view like the importance of doing something like that, meeting people face to face versus like leveraging like your online network either through LinkedIn or
Yeah,
I know you mentioned like
I think face to face is great. It works for me. I love meeting people face to face. So I'm a people person. I just enjoy it. I love being around people. I'm like, oh my God, like I love it. And I think that's part of the reason why I love the industry as well, because it is a people industry as well. It's all about who you know, people. That's what it's really about. But I would say, like, if you're networking, network well, always grab people's contact details first and email them first. You can give out your details if you like, but at least you're in control of that and you've got their details so you can call them or email them or DM them or whatever you need to do. So that's good. I would say in terms of having an online presence is crucial in this day and age. But there's various ways to get into work. You can have a strong online presence and get work, or you can have a not so strong online presence and still get work. And the reason why you still get work with not a strong online presence is because you're excellent at application writing. So you need to really have either a strong online presence or know how to like network effectively online, and you need to be going to networking events, and you need to be writing strong applications and strong CVs, cover letters to certain jobs, etc., and know people. The balance of all four, I would get that will give you a good sort of step into the industry, I would say.
so I'm sure that like strong CV writing and application writing is something that like folks would probably benefit a lot from either setting a call up with you or talking with you in some other
100%.
capacity.
Mhm.
Um, and along those lines, I was curious, from the people that you've worked with, are there certain like rookie mistakes or things that you see all the time that people are just like really just shooting themselves in the foot because they are putting these things on their CV or they are structuring things in a way that is never going to help them
Yeah.
get the job?
So no nos for me is just like you don't need date of birth, you don't need your full address, you don't need like British citizen or anything like that. Like it's just like strip it all back. You need the location or the cities that you're based and your email and your number and a link. That link can be a showreel link or a LinkedIn link or a talent manager profile link or something. A link. You don't have to have a link. You can just be your contact details. Done. Your name, and you have the role next to your name. So what job are you getting or what job are you at? Then you put that role there. Underneath that, you have a mission statement. It's 2 to 4 lines. Those 2 to 4 lines are basically explaining who you are, what you do, and what you're looking to achieve or what you're great at doing, essentially. So, and it has to be TV and film heavy. Even if you've worked 10 years in a bank and you want to work into TV accounting, you can do that because you can easily transfer in, but you need to just write it like you're a TV accountant. Just write it like you're a TV accountant because you understand numbers, you understand how accounting works, but you want to work in a TV industry. So have that in your mission statement. Your key skills. So you have your key skills underneath your mission statement. You can have as many or as little as you want, but I always say elaborate on your key skills. Detail is to me sells. It needs to look clear, like the TV needs to look clear, it needs to look formatted like clearly, and it needs to be as much detail as possible. Underneath your key skills, I would say it'd be your industry experience. So any industry experience, whether it's filming stuff on your phone, whether it's working for the BBC or anything in between, write it there and put your most relevant industry experience first to the job that you're applying for. So put that first and then put everything else underneath it. And then if you're from a different industry, I would put further related experience as a title, and then put like list the roles that you've done and the companies basically. Dates are political in this day and age because there's a lot of people that have been out of work for a long time. So dates aren't necessarily important. You can bracket off dates, so you can bracket off years, and that makes things a bit more easier on the eye. And if people have any questions about dates of interview, they can ask you. And yeah, and then if you've got any education, then you can put that at the end. But obviously, it would be good to know where people are at with their specific careers for me to actually advise sort of on a one-to-one. But generally speaking, that's how you would kind of write a CV, and then at the end just have references. Have two with their name, role, company, but don't have your like numbers or anything like that because of GDPR. You can't really share anyone's details. So it's better to just have the two there. If not, just have references available on request. But it's good to have references at the end of the CV anyway, because it shows that, oh, they've got the references as well. Cool. Do you know what I mean? It kind of shows that you're ready. So yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, very, very helpful advice, I think, and I hope everyone has gained a little bit of insight from that as well. We are going to transition to audience questions pretty shortly. I know we've had a couple of them come through in the chat, so that'll be really exciting.
No
So
problem.
I guess like last thing that I specifically wanted to ask you was just I'd love to hear a little bit more about the TV and Film Jobs Network. Like, what led you to set that up, and how are things going so far?
Yeah, so it's going well. We have about 65 to 73 members. I launched in April. So it's going really well. I believe Thomas is a member. I recognize is that Dominic Brown? Is that Dominic Brown Dom? I think I know if it is Dominic Brown, then I know who Dominic Brown is. But anyway, and there's a few people that I recognize their names on. But yeah, so with the network, it's basically an online platform and it's an app. The online platform and the app, basically you get notified when I post jobs on. So every job, I look every day and I look for jobs on in the industry and I post them on my platform. And then there's like discounts, so you get discounts off my career services. So if you want to book in a chat with me one-to-one, I can go through your CV properly and go through everything. Then you can book that and you get a discount on that, or you can come to my office and have a in-person career chat as well. So that's how I work. Yeah, you're all more than welcome to join. I think you guys have got the link already, haven't you?
I think we should have it at the end if we don't have it right now.
Yeah,
But it'll go up. But
yeah.
it's the
But
TV
yeah,
and
that's
Film
my
Jobs
network.
Network.
Yeah, the TV and Film Jobs Network. It's on my website, georginabobb.tv. Or you can follow me on Instagram at TV Film Jobs or my Instagram at Georgina Bobb TV.
I will throw the link to your website in the chat right now so everyone can see it.
Thank you.
Okay, and on to some questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Okay, first question I see is from Nana. What is your advice for people in finance? I want to transition into production finance. I'm finding it's more relaxed than banking and finance where I had been previously.
Yeah, so production finance, we just spoke about it. That's so weird. I don't know why. I think I must be psychic or something. But with production finance, it's literally you work within the accounting department for an indie or broadcaster, and you would basically you would rec like all the expenses maybe and just check budgets and just make sure that everything is like all together and stuff. You know, the general financy stuff, but it's not as like mad corporate as it would be like in a finance organization. So I would say if you can, Screen Skills was doing a finance program a while back, but I'm not sure if they still are. But like look out like on Screen Skills finance stuff. And also contact like the accounts department within production companies and ask them if they need any help. Even if you go down to like an accounts assistant, you're still in a TV role within there. So call up some production company, speak to the accounting team, and just say, "Hi, can I speak to accounts?" And I think that's a really good. That's quite clever to get in, because most people will just pass you on to accounts thinking that you're a client. Does that make sense? So that's quite a clever way of getting in, I think. And also be on the lookout for jobs. When there's account jobs, just be on the lookout for those and apply for those as well.
That's very smart. Never would have thought of that myself,
I
but
know, I know. Tricks of the trades.
okay, our next question is from Kiara. My biggest obstacle is confidence. What advice would you give me for navigating through networking events? Once I get there, what tips do you have for confidently communicating and selling the best version of myself?
Okay, so I'm confident, as you can probably tell. But I always tell my clients, those that aren't forthcoming, when you get into a room, look and observe the vibe of the room before you do anything. Don't rush into, and do you know what I mean? Because it's going to make you anxious or make you a certain way. So just like observe, feel the vibe, get a drink if you want to drink, if you don't want to drink, whatever, just kind of observe and just kind of look cool. And then if you see someone that like looks at you or approaches you, then you can like just have a natural conversation. It's all about because everyone's there for the same reason. So don't overthink anything. Just be yourself, you know? That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question is from Thomas. I will study at Rain Dance Filmmaking. I want to work in the industry as a director. How realistic is that? Will I find work as a director, or is it better to start as AD? I also have experience as a filmmaker, and one of my movies ran on 3 festivals, and I got my first prize. Not big, but it's a first prize. Well, congratulations, Thomas, on your first prize.
Well done, Thomas, my love. Yeah, Thomas, yeah, he's cool. So, Thomas, what I would say to you is you need to up your directing reel. So, like, I know you want to direct, you're doing your rain dance stuff, and then you want to, like, after that, get a job as a director. To get a job as a director, you need to have a directing reel. So, you need to be able to direct your own content. And so that people can look at that and be like, oh my gosh, he's directed this, he's directed that. Like, organize your own film screenings, like get a body of work where you've actually been like you've directed like a few stuff yourself. Does that make sense? And then you can potentially get an agent or people can contact you. It's about who you know. It's about, like networking with other producers, writers, and maybe directing some of their scripts, etc. So I would say that really.
Amazing. And then our next question is from Moyan Oluwa. It's kind of a two-part question. So the first question is a formal training in media necessary for a new entrant? And also, what types of formal trainings would you advise for me to take on? I heard you mention screen skills, but are there any others?
Um, I do training, but obviously I'm going to say that. But I would say screen skills it is number one industry training hub. I'm not going to lie to you. So I would say that I do training for the Capital City College Group. They're like a big hub of colleges, and they do short courses, and they hire me to produce and deliver short courses for them, and therefore they're free to the public. So if you sign up to my newsletter on my website, you can actually sign up and like to my newsletter and on LinkedIn as well. And I put up the dates and the links for my training that I do. So I would say definitely do that. I do production management with them, like intro to the production management course. I also do how to get a job in TV course and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say screen skills is the number one for training, to be completely honest. And me. So yeah.
And so folks can find it through your newsletter. So that's on LinkedIn and also on your website?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And if people are not going to go like the formal training route, like what other way do you just suggest that they go out there and just get direct experience or
If you can get direct experience, get direct experience. If you can't, then consider training. Consider getting a university degree. It depends on your own individual situation. If you're financially secure and you're like, do you know what? I can afford to just take maybe a year out and just try my best to get into the industry and get some sort of job, and you can do that, do it. But if you're like, actually, I think university might be cool because I can get the loans and the grants and blah, 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 take a year out, learn, study, and then enter the industry at a different time, you can do that. It depends on what your own personal experience is, but at the same time, you need to think about like what's more important to you. Because the only reason why I went to university all those years ago was because it's because there wasn't any apprenticeship schemes then, that like you had to get a degree to be taken seriously to be in the industry. But I think I wouldn't say it's changed. It's still good to have a degree. Like it is still good to have a degree. But if I was younger now, I would just go straight into the industry.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely understand how like especially something like university, it's a big decision and like there's so many other factors that go into it. It's not just like, oh, this is the only path that I have forward, and you really need to figure out like what is useful for you, like what
Yeah,
kind of
you need to,
things will
yeah,
help
it's
you.
about yourself. Like you need to think for yourself, like it's kind of like with education, it's like if you want to do education. Like it's what do you want to do? Do you know what I mean? It's like what feels right for you. And if you're not sure, do pros and cons. Write down pros, write down cons. That's what I do. Because
Hmm.
I'm quite an indecisive person, but now I'm like, do you know what? Sometimes you just got to make that decision.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, sometimes there's no like right decision. There's just like the best decision for you at the time, and you
yeah,
never know that until you like start looking at things like that.
exactly.
Okay, our next question is from Julian. It says, I'm looking to network with supervisors and licensing agencies to license music in my catalog for sync placements. Any information for
Okay.
me as an independent songwriter or ways I can find leads?
So what I need to know from Julian is, does he know anyone that's like works for a production music library? Because those are the people you need to know. So audio network, you need to know everyone who's on their team on audio network, get in with them. PRS and PPL and those types of things, you need to know who works for them. Do you get what I mean?
Hmm.
Oh, he said something. Was he said, yes, I do a couple of was it say? Yes, I do. A couple of movie producers as well. That's good. But I would say music, I'm not gonna lie, it's not my forte. I have to tell you that. But I would say Audio Network, that's the main production library that many TV and film companies use. And also think about the ones that the YouTubers use. There's like Epidemic Sounds, there's Artlist. Just contact them as well. Do you know what I mean? And also look for like unions or groups that are around music and production, music production within TV and film, and join those groups and attend like meetups and networking events so you can be around those types of people that can actually get your music licensed. I hope that's helped.
I think, yeah, Julian says that he's writing down your notes. So
Those
I
don't.
think,
Oh, bless him.
and then I've got one final question in the chat so far from Chavez, which is, with all your experience gained and challenges faced, how has that shaped your approach to the projects you work on now?
What's my approach? To be honest, I just do what I need to do for my life. Like it's literally that simple. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm the happiest I've been in my whole life because I'm living authentically, I'm helping others, and I'm using my knowledge that I've learned throughout the years of my experience in the industry to pass on to others and to help others. And that makes me happy. There is a part of me that wants to get back into the industry. I'm not gonna lie, because I can't help it. Like I love the industry like so much. So there's a part of me that's like, maybe if I got a part-time something, or maybe if I got a full-time something. But like, yeah, like I do production. That's what I do, and I also present. I do some presenting bits and bobs when I can. But I would say production is what I love. That's my love, and I will always do it. I will always do it. So yeah.
That's incredible. So I think we're kind of coming up to the end of the hour. I like, we'll have a bit of a wrap up in a second, but I think you shared such great advice with us as far as like really getting your foot in the door and how to make the most of your opportunities, networking, making sure you're following up with people once a week, putting things on socials, really nailing those applications. Um, so I just was wondering if you had any final thoughts, any last things that you wanted to share with everybody. Um,
Yeah, I would just say first, thank you for joining. And secondly, like, don't let anyone like stop you from being your authentic self. But not just that, stop you from achieving in the industry. Like, you have to have like about a million shields around you to be like, you need to be like, I know this sounds so cliche, but you need to be like the Black Panther dude. You need to be like him. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, you have to be like relentless. In this industry, you have to be relentless. but you can be relentless, but you have to fit in. Remember that it's a balanced coin. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Fit in with people and you'll do well.
Well,
So
I
yeah.
think if anything, like your experience in your career shows like how you can be like very like strong and authentic to yourself and still make things work for you. So it seems like you've
Yeah.
really struck that balance.
Yeah, I have found that balance, but I used to straighten my hair and wear glasses and speak posh. And I
Mhm.
did that for 10 years. And then it got to a point where I was like, no, I'm not happy, you know? So I did that and it got me where I needed to get to, but then cracks started to show and it was just like, no, I can't do this. So now I am who I am now, you know? It's just life. But I would say the industry, love the industry. So it's like just do what you guys need to do, you know? Just do what you need to do for yourselves. And I'm sure things will work out for you guys. And I'm always here if you want to drop me a DM or LinkedIn me, or my WhatsApp's on my website. So you can always just like WhatsApp me or whatever. Like it's all good.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And I will put on my little presentation again, just
Oh,
so that everybody can find everyone. So Georgina's at Georgina Bobb TV and TV and Film Jobs. You can also find her on LinkedIn at Georgina Bobb. I think we've dropped a couple of links in the chat as well. I think some other folks are also sharing their contact information, which I think is great.
great
Please
stuff.
do network with each other. But yeah, thank you again so much, Georgina, for joining us this evening. You've been
Welcome.
so incredible.
You're welcome, my love.
And then let's see what else we've got. And if you'd like to sign up for Javelin and continue your career path that way, you can scan the QR code here. I think we've also put it in the chat so you can reach the Javelin dashboard that way. Other BYP Creator events will also be available through that, so you can keep up with us there. But otherwise, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. It's been really,
Yeah,
really great to have you. And yeah, thank you so much, Georgina. Thank you everyone for participating and sharing your comments and your questions. It's been really, really great, and I hope everyone has had an informative hour because I know I
I hope
definitely
it has
have.
been.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of your evening or afternoon or morning if you're somewhere else in the world. I know we have a global audience.
Oh, bless you. Thank you all. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed.